You don't need to spend $100, $150, $200 to find a good quality chef's knife. I bought 3 of the highest rated chef's knives, all costing around $50. I've used each of them extensively and tested them directly against each other. This is my take on why I really think you can get an excellent chef's knife for $50 and which one of these knives I think offers the best value for money. Starting off with the Fibrox Pro chef's knife by Victorinox, a company from Switzerland founded in 1884 and the original makers of the Swiss Army knife. So these guys know how to make a tough, reliable knife. The overall profile of the knife is very classic with a good curved edge and a nice wide blade. The handle is a bit more out of the ordinary. It's made from a textured thermoplastic with the textured finish giving it much more grip than most knives, and it feels extremely comfortable in the hand. It's one of the most comfortable knives I've ever used at any price range, and the out of the factory edge is the sharpest of the 3 knives we're looking at in the video. Overall, I have been super impressed with this knife. Now next up is the Mercer Renaissance. Now Mercer have nothing like the heritage as a company of the other 2 knives in this video, and being a relatively new company and with this knife being manufactured in Taiwan, which doesn't have any sort of great heritage of knife manufacture and knife making. But what they lack in heritage, they make up for in design and the quality of materials used. The profile of the knife is very classic in design and extremely well balanced, staying perfectly horizontal when held in the middle. The blade is also nicely curved, making it ideal for rock chopping. The blade itself is made from forged steel instead of stamped steel. It has a half bolster as well and it feels good, stable and robust. The knife has a full tang into the handle and is treble riveted to the thermoplastic handle material. The thermoplastic they use is POM, which is a really good, tough material to use for a handle. It's often found in chef's knives double to triple the price, and in fact it's the exact same material used for the handle of my Wüsthof Classic chef's knife, which cost around $170. That same level of quality is found in the knife steel itself, which is a steel called X50 CR MOV15. Again, this is a material more commonly found in knives costing $100 and up, and it's known for its durability and excellent rust resistance. And again, it's the exact same steel used in my $170 Wüsthof Classic knife. Pretty impressive for $50. The Zwilling JA Henckels Twin Pollux is the 3rd knife that I tested out. Now Zwilling JA Henckels are one of the largest and oldest knife manufacturers in the world, with a history dating way back to 1731. They're a German brand and make a huge range of knives, generally known for their really good durability. This is another stamped steel blade with a triple riveted thermoplastic handle, but the profile of this knife is significantly different from the other 2. The blade edge is less curved and not nearly as wide, making it more suitable for a downwards cutting motion rather than rock chopping. The shape of the handle also makes it more suited to a full handle grip rather than the pinch grip where you hold both the blade and the handle at the same time. All these knives come with a pretty razor sharp factory edge. I'd say the Zwilling had the roughest edge of the 3 knives, with the Mercer being actually a pretty close match with my $170 Wüsthof knife, and really the Victorinox came out incredibly well, with a really well finished razor sharp edge, which I would say was even a bit better than the Wüsthof knife. In truth though, any Western style chef's knife is going to start to go dull pretty quickly, even when you pay the higher prices. So the factory edge really doesn't matter all that much. The key to keeping these kind of knives sharp is to hone them regularly. And by that I mean pretty much every day that you use the knife. Eventually though, it will lose that razor sharp edge, and that's probably going to happen between 6 to 12 months depending on how often you use the knife. And when that happens, the only real way to bring back that sharpness is to sharpen it properly. Now I'd recommend doing that yourself using a whetstone at home, or there are plenty of services that you can use who will sharpen your knives for you. One thing that really matters for a good quality chef's knife is its durability and its rust resistance. A good quality chef's knife should always contain a high level of chromium in the steel. Chromium is the element that stops steel from rusting, and it's what makes stainless steel stainless. So the better quality the stainless steel is, the high level of chromium it will have in it. So I wanted to put these 3 knives to the test. Steel with too little chromium hates water. A moist environment will cause it to rust, and any decent stainless steel should have at least 14% chromium in the steel to prevent this from happening in general kitchen use. So to see if these knives really are high quality stainless steel, I soaked each of them in a bucket of water for 2 hours. I then wrapped them in a wet towel for a further 24 hours to create a really humid environment. And as a control, I also did this with the $170 Wüsthof knife as well. Now this isn't just a test for the steel, I also wanted to test out the handles as well, because low quality handle materials can often warp and distort in really moist environments, so it was a good test for the knife as a whole. One day later I checked on the knives and it was excellent to see that there wasn't a single spot of rust on any of them, and all the handles had stayed perfectly intact. They all stood up to the test, and I really do think that all three of these knives are using top quality materials. Another super important part of any chef's knife is the weight, and particularly the balance. A chef's knife should be perfectly balanced between the blade and the handle. This is what happens when you hold the $170 Wüsthof on the bolster, where the blade meets the handle. It stays completely level with a perfect balance between the two. That means when you're using the knife, there isn't excess weight pushing the knife forward or backwards, and it's a good indication of good quality knife design. When I tried this with the $50 knives, there were mixed results. The Zwilling is pretty horribly front weighted, which is surprising given that the blade isn't even very wide. But because the steel is so thick, the knife is still really front heavy. The Victorinox fared a little bit better, but it's still a little bit unbalanced. And even though the blade is way wider than the blade of the Zwilling, because the steel is thinner, it does have a bit of an overall better balance. The really impressive result though was from the Mercer. Just like the Wüsthof, it's pretty much perfectly balanced between the blade and the handle, which just helps to make it a pleasure to use. I also weighed each of these knives, and the main thing to note is just how super light the Victorinox is. It feels light in the hand, but when you see the actual numbers, it's indisputably clear. Now look, you would expect the forged Mercer and the forged Wüsthof to be heavier than the Victorinox because it's a stamped blade, but the Victorinox is still 20% lighter than the stamped Zwilling knife. I think it's the lightest chef's knife that I've ever used, so if you're looking for a really good quality chef's knife and you want one that's super lightweight, you really can't look past the Victorinox. It isn't my favourite knife of the three though. That award has to go to the Mercer. Honestly, there's such little difference between the Mercer, which costs $50, and the Wüsthof, which cost $170. It's incredible. This is without doubt the best value knife that I've ever used. But before you think of buying any knife, you need to know which knife size to buy, because chef's knives come in all different sizes. The Mercer itself comes in 6, 8 and 10-inch sizes. To understand which knife size will suit you best, you need to watch my video here on how to really easily choose the correct size chef's knife for you. It's super easy to do, and you can even do it if you're shopping online and you don't even have access to a knife.